A growing debate on the ethical aspect of genetically edited babies. Patrick Ho's bribery trial in the United States opens. And NASA's InSight Mars lander sends back its first photo from the red planet.
Good evening. What could be the world's first genetically edited babies sparked ethical concerns around the globe. The controversy dominated an international summit here in Hong Kong. It will feature the Chinese scientists who altered the DNA of twin girls born in Shenzhen earlier this month. Elmi Lung reports.
Hundreds of scientists gathered in Hong Kong for a summit on human genome editing. The three-day event spotlights Nobel laureate David Baltimore.
Science will inevitably move forward in many other areas that raise moral and ethical concerns. We may even hear about an attempt to apply genome editing to human embryos, giving rise to children carrying edited genes.
While he's open to gene editing applications to human medicine, news of the world's first genetically edited babies sent shockwaves across the biomedical field.
We still have a lot of work to do to prove and establish that the procedure is actually safe. I would say that no babies should be born at this point in time following the use of this technology. It's simply too early, too premature.
This Shenzhen hospital is where the twin girls were reportedly born this month. The project also attracted condemnation from over 100 scientists who call it crazy and unethical in an open letter. China's National Health Commission ordered provincial health officials to investigate after noting it's highly concerned. Scientist He Jianhui defended his move of altering the DNA of two girls. He claims to protect them from the virus which causes AIDS.
If we can help this family protect their children, it's inhuman for us not to. The girls are safe, healthy as any other babies. When Mark saw her daughter for the first time, he said that he never thought he could be a father.
What's alarming is that one twin's genes were partially altered, meaning she may not have the same protection against HIV infections as her sister. The university where He Jianhui holds an associate professorship said it had been unaware of the research project and that he had been on unpaid leave since February. Perhaps all will be clearer when He speaks at the Human Genome Editing Summit tomorrow. Elmi Long, TVB News.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam says the Legislative Council's new political landscape after Sunday's by-election will not affect her work. Former political assistant Chen Huoyan, who shares similar vision with the pro-establishment camp, won the by-election for the Kowloon West geographical constituency. She's due to be sworn in tomorrow and will serve until the current LegCo term ends in 2020. Her victory means the pan-democratic camp failed in its bid to regain veto power under the split voting system.
I have adopted a very consistent approach in interacting with members of the Legislative Council, regardless of their political affiliations. This particular result of the by-election will not have any material impact on what I have been doing in the last 16 months or so.
A returning officer has requested a candidate running for a 2019 village representatives post to answer questions related to sovereignty issues. Sharon Tang tells us more.
Today, Eddie Chu met his deadline for answering 5 questions. Chu, who's also a lawmaker, hopes to secure a seat as a Pat Hong Yuen Kong Centurion resident representative. First, Chu agrees that Hong Kong is an inalienable part of the People's Republic of China, which has sovereignty over the SAR. Next, on whether he has genuinely vowed to uphold the basic law. Chu stressed that he had already pledged so when he took the LegCo oath as a lawmaker. He added that he had made his declaration to the same effect on his nomination form this time round. The returning officer also made reference to Chu's social media page, which claimed he did not support Hong Kong independence, and asked him whether he's changed his mind or considered self-determination as an option for the city's future. Chu replied his stance on the issue has not changed, but he stressed that Hong Kong people should be able to decide for their own destiny.
I did not push for a referendum in Hong Kong. What I'm pushing for is a thorough review of the current constitutional system, including certain articles in the Basic Law that gives the central government huge power to intervene in internal politics of Hong Kong.
Though Chu has replied to the questions, the Home Affairs Department says the returning officer will still need to consider if Chu's nomination is valid. Chu will compete against another resident of Yuen Kong San Tsuen, Yeung Kam Lun, in this election. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
U.S. prosecutors told a federal court on Monday that greed motivated Hong Kong businessman Patrick Ho to line the pockets of government officials in 2 African nations. This as his bribery trial opened in New York. Ho is Hong Kong's former Home Affairs Secretary, and he pleaded not guilty to charges of conspiracy, money laundering, and violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. The prosecution said the bribes were aimed at landing lucrative business deals and oil rights for conglomerate CEFC China Energy. But Ho's defense called it a bribery case with no bribe. Attorney Benjamin Rosenberg said the multi-million-dollar payments to government officials, including the president of Chad and the Ugandan foreign minister, were only intended to generate goodwill and long-term relationships. Rosenberg insisted the payments were both charitable and above board, and that CEFC China received nothing in return. Now to a crisis that could trigger a war between Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian lawmakers approved martial law, and its armed forces are now on full combat alert. This after Russia seized 3 of its Navy ships and their crew. This video captured a Russian Coast Guard ship chasing after a Ukrainian Navy tugboat before it was rammed. Ukrainian Navy men say Russia fired on them, and now 6 sailors are wounded, 3 of them seriously. That's because Russia claims the ships illegally entered Russian territorial waters. But Ukraine insists it gave Russia advance notice of its Kerch Strait movements. This crisis is what led Ukraine's parliament to support the president's request to impose martial law. Petro Poroshenko also insists he has intelligence to prove that Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. Starting tomorrow, martial law will take effect for 30 days in parts of the country most vulnerable to an attack from Russia. From Brussels, the head of NATO called on Russia to free the Ukrainian sailors and their ships.
There is no justification for the use of military force against Ukrainian ships and naval personnel. So we call on Russia to release immediately the Ukrainian sailors and ships it seized yesterday.
It's clear from seeing no movement from the seized ships that Russia refuses to listen. Ukraine's ambassador to the United Nations urged the international community to sanction Russia on evidence it carried out shoot-to-kill orders.
I have a lot of evidence, including the interception of the radio exchange between the monitor in the port of Kerch and one of the Russian ships when they were ramming the Ukrainian tugboat, and there are clear records of the orders shoot to kill.
But Russia's deputy UN ambassador accused Kiev of plotting the conflict in an effort to boost President Poroshenko's low approval ratings ahead of next year's election. That triggered outrage by the U.S. ambassador to the UN.
This is no way for a law-abiding, civilized nation to act. Impeding Ukraine's lawful transit through the Kerch Strait is a violation under international law.
Meantime, the European Union is calling for cooler heads to prevail.
International law obliges the Russian Federation to immediately reopen the Kerch Strait to passage of all vessels and maintain it unhindered. At this current time, it's imperative that utmost restraint is shown by all in order to de-escalate the situation.
British Prime Minister Theresa May faced fierce opposition from lawmakers as she tried to sell the Brexit deal. She told Parliament the deal isn't perfect, but rejecting it is a leap into the unknown. Alan Bookner reports.
After more than a year and a half of tough negotiations, Britain and 27 other EU countries signed off on the deal Sunday. But May was anything but triumphant as she tried to sell the deal to a sceptical Parliament.
It takes back control of our laws, it ends the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice in the UK, and means instead our laws being made in our parliaments, enforced by our courts. And it takes back control of our money. It ends the vast annual payments we send to Brussels.
But many lawmakers across the political spectrum are opposed to the deal, saying it leaves Britain subject to EU rules without having any say in making them.
Many people from areas that voted leave feel this deal has betrayed the Brexit they voted for. It does not take back control, it will not make them better off, and it will not solve the economic deprivation that affects far too many communities and towns and cities across this country.
Sunderland, in the northeast of England, voted overwhelmingly to leave the EU.
This is not what I voted for. I think this is a betrayal of what the country actually voted for. The country was looking to Eustace Slope to take back control, and I think we've ceded control.
We voted no, and it was the job of the government, at the risk of a no deal, to deliver leaving. No ifs, no buts, and what it's turned into is a complete political mess.
Lawmakers will vote on the deal December 11th. Rejection would plunge Britain into political crisis. May plans a frantic 2-week cross-country campaign to convince the public and lawmakers that rejecting the deal would spell disaster. Alan Bookner, TVB News.
And still ahead in our newscast, complaints about an overcrowded school campus in Kowloon. Japan to buy 100 more F-35 stealth fighters from the United States. And Christmas decorations in the White House.
每日為生活拼搏，想健康有保障，仲想令賺到嘅錢增值。信諾108 Return 健康全面保唔只有醫療保障，仲有108% 期滿保費回贈。而家連仔女都有健康保障，仲可以為未來儲錢。全新信諾同享健康保費回贈計劃，期滿保費回贈高達118%。信諾同你健康在握，致電信諾81058418。
Welcome back to TVB News. Japan is reportedly preparing to order 100 F-35B stealth fighter jets from the United States to replace some of its aging fleet of F-15s. That is in addition to the 42 of the new F-35As that Tokyo already intended to buy. At a unit cost of $88 million, the Japanese government is expected to splurge more than $8.8 billion for the 100 F-35B model. That is capable of short takeoffs and vertical landings. That's not even counting the cost of Tokyo's plans to revamp and retrofit its Izumo helicopter carrier to host the jets. The plan is seen as a nod to U.S. President Donald Trump's call for Tokyo to buy more American defense equipment in response to China's military buildup.
British PhD student Matthew Hedges is back on home soil 1 day after being pardoned by the United Arab Emirates. The 31-year-old Hedges was sentenced to life in prison last week. The UAE accused him of being a spy for Britain's MI16 intelligence agency. He was pardoned yesterday after UAE officials showed reporters short video clips of Hedges purportedly confessing. Britain has strongly denied Hedges is a spy and welcomed the news of his release.
Word tonight that all public hospitals and outpatient clinics have stopped using a batch of quadrivalent seasonal influenza vaccines. Authorities are asking the pharmaceutical company concerned to replenish the stock with other unaffected batches. So far, the government has received no adverse reaction reports. Teachers and parents of the troubled Think International School cried foul at the relocation of the campus to an overcrowded campus in Kowloon Tong. This after the school was ordered to stop operating in another campus due to improper registration. Christy Lung with details.
Classes as usual, but at a different campus. It is very crowded now, said this upper primary student. There aren't even enough washrooms for the kids, said Mr. Chung, our student's father. Currently, more than 300 pupils and teachers are squeezed under the same roof as the Kowloon Tong campus on Boundary Street. The relocation has increased the number of pupils in each class from 17 to 28. While the figure is still within the Education Bureau's classroom capacity of 33, teachers said the learning experience is no longer the same.
The music and the art rooms are actually being used at the moment for storage. The amount of resources and books and things that we've had to bring from Kwong Lee, they can't fit in the classrooms with the children because we're already full.
The situation is so bad, one music teacher broke down in tears over the lack of space for the school's Christmas performance. 2 weeks ago, 117 upper primary students of Think International School were asked to vacate their campus in Chengsha 1. It was ordered by the Education Bureau, which said the school's name was not properly registered. In light of the overcrowding problem, the school is asking for an alternative campus or be allowed to temporarily use their old Chengsha 1 site. The Education Bureau said the campus on Boundary Street has sufficient sites for the enrolled students. Officials said it would be unfair to law-abiding schools if a private school which has violated the law is given a vacant campus. Christy Lung, TVB News.
And the White House has just unveiled this year's Christmas decorations. Designed by First Lady Melania Trump, the 2018 theme features American treasures. So the decorations include a tree trimmed by Gold Star families. There's also an array of topiary trees. Plus, the mantelpieces boast the lovely skylines of New York City, St. Louis, Chicago, and San Francisco. And that is a wrap of our